mission to heal caregiver burnout. My name is Jody Solberg, and I'm going to be guiding you through this journey today of learning how we can take care of ourselves first. So, thank you so much for joining me. And I'm going to be sharing some information today that's really going to be important. It's something that whether you're dealing with caregiver burnout now or it's something you may be dealing with in the future, that we want to make sure that we're on top of, that we can prevent as well as recover. Awareness is that first step. And so it's really important to know what we're talking about and how to take care of ourselves in a way that's going to serve and support us best. So I'm actually going to, let's see here. I'm going to see if I can share my screen with you all so that we can see all of the lovely visuals that I put together for you. So please let me know, say hello if you're here with me live or if you're here on the replay. I would love to be able to say hello to all of you and let me know if any questions arise for you as well. And I'll make sure to check in at the end of the session. So, as I said, my name is Jody Solberg, and I'm a certified master hypnotherapist. I'm a transpersonal wellness coach. And what those things mean is it means that I am here to help you tap into the power of your subconscious mind to really activate your own inner wisdom, your own inner healing abilities, and create peace and harmony in all areas of your life. I'm someone who's been in mental and behavioral health for the last 25 years, as well as in coaching. And I truly believe in treating people as whole people, right? We're not just businesses in a bubble, or we're not just caregivers. We're not just our health. Oh, and our mind's not over here and our body's not over here. We're interconnected beings. Right? We truly have all the parts and pieces of our lives. And it's really important to treat ourselves that way, to figure out how do we reconnect, because we can often feel really disconnected. And in our society, that's often something that happens, right? We feel really disconnected from ourselves. We get lost in our identity of the roles that we play in our lives. And it's something that I've experienced. I've gone through this. I was actually really burnt out both from being an overachiever and piling all the things on myself in my business and in my career, because I actually started coaching when I was in grad school for clinical psychology. And so what I ended up doing was just doing all the things and piling that on. And so when I became a caregiver, when I had things going on in my own health, needing to take care of myself, as well as in my family, needing to take care of others, it was just too much. And I completely burnt out. And so, as someone who has broken free from that and recovered from that burnout, which I then, in hindsight, realized was chronic burnout because I had really had smaller bouts of burnout. And then I'd stop and I'd rest and recover. And then I'd come back to it again. I just basically go back to my old habits and patterns, and as someone who has been helping to support and take care of parents as well as, my own life and my family for, many years, about 30 years, I was put into that position all the way back in high school. And so, as someone who's been through this multiple times, I realized that I need to take care of myself first, that I needed to do the things to make the changes in those habits and patterns so that I could take care of everyone and everything else at my best. And that overloading myself wasn't going to do anyone any good, because I burnt out way back in 2018 to the point where I couldn't take care of anyone, let alone barely take care of myself. And that is not where you want to be. And so it's really vital to continue to be aware of signs and symptoms for myself. And I'm going to give you a range today so you can identify that for you because everyone's going to be a little bit different. But being aware of what those signs are for you and knowing that burnout often starts with really small signs that are easily brushed off. But when ignored, they grow larger until they're undeniable. As I mentioned, you can't take care of anything. And so, knowing what those are at the beginning and putting those strategies in place to take care of yourself first is what's going to help you to then recover, but also prevent it in the future. So you don't have to make those same mistakes and go through burnout over and over and over again. There's so much knowledge and wisdom inside of us if we learn how to tap in and listen. So I would love to go ahead and share with you, how can we take care of ourselves? How can we do that? It's really key to learn how that's done. And so then we can move on. So I'm going to skip over here to talk about the numbers when it comes to caregiver burnout, because caregiver burnout is really defined as emotional and physical exhaustion, right? That you feel from the stress of caregiving. But also, again, remember, we're not just caregivers in a bubble. So we have whole lives. And so it's not just going to be one piece that causes burnout. It's going to be all the things. Because when you're a caregiver, you are taking care of whoever it is in your life. We all have, um, we have people. So we might have kids, partners, parents, pets, all of the above, as well as ourselves, as well as things that come into caregiving, like finances, coordinating with medical providers, right? Navigating these conversations, advocacy. There's a lot of those parts. And so what ends up happening is it's a state of physical and or mental collapse and exhaustion caused by overwork or stress. And it doesn't have to be just in your career. Again, it can be that too. I had felt a lot of that pressure to provide. I needed to make the money to pay the medical bills. Right? That's huge. And so for me, it was like, well, I have to work and I have to basically come home and then work 24/7 and take care of everyone and everything. But I have to go out there and I have to make the money so that I can pay for the treatments. And so that's why 40% at least, right, of caregivers feel emotionally stressed, and 20% are already at the place where they're also very physically strained. Now, I will tell you, this is only caregiver burnout. Okay, this was an AARP study. Okay, but I'm going to give you some more numbers around burnout because there was an alarming increase in burnout rates since the pandemic hit in 2020. And it's been this alarming increase in burnout rates that really underscores this pressing need to address this issue for ourselves and the people around us. Because according to Forbes, over half, so 52% of people experienced burnout in 2021, right? We hit the pandemic, and that was up from 43% pre pandemic. So there was a 10% raise basically in that. And 53% of millennials, so the generation right under mine, um, were already burnt out pre pandemic. And they actually have remained a very affected population, about 59% experiencing that burnout. Gen Z is right behind them, 58%. And that's again up about 11% from pre pandemic. And the pandemic's toll was huge. Boomers, right? Baby boomers showing a 7% increase, so 31%. So think about that. They might be caregiving for partners, spouses, They also, the younger generation and my generation, so 54%, so over half of us as Gen Xers currently burned out. That was up 14% because we might be caring for kids and aging parents, right? So think about this, that everybody at all of these different stages have varying levels of different types of things that are contributing to burnout. There's a lot that can contribute to that. So it's really important to realize that it doesn't just affect one generation. There's the people like me who are in that sandwich generation, who are a lot of people my age group, might have kids and aging parents, like I mentioned, may also have grandkids. They have themselves and their partners. They have all sorts, basically everybody that we're taking care of. We're running everybody's lives. And each different age range has its own unique caregiving responsibilities and things that we need to be prepared for, whether we're there yet or not. And so that's where taking care of yourself and loving yourself first is so, so key, because we need to learn these things now so that we can pass them on to the next generation, and we can show everyone around us that it's okay, right? When we give ourselves permission to take care of ourselves, it gives others permission to do that too, because burnout affects literally everything. This is why it's so key to do this and to take care of yourself, because burnout's going to affect you physically, mentally, emotionally. It's going to tank your motivation and your productivity. And it's going to cause you to feel disconnected, dispassionate, and unfulfilled. And so burnout is what happens when we go through extended periods of stress. Our nervous systems are designed for that acute stress and then to release it. But in our modern day and age, and especially with caregiving, it's this pervasive long term extended stress that really wears us down and causes that mental and physical collapse. And it can include physical symptoms. So you can have sleep issues, frequent illness because it tanks your immune system, you know, fatigue and GI issues can also cause mental and emotional challenges like depression, anxiety, loss of focus and productivity, things like irritability and apathy. And when we are depleted, it also affects our memory, right? Our ability to juggle all the things and to remember who we're supposed to call and what we're supposed to do and the appointments we're supposed to make and all the things. And we just get fried. We're on overload. And so there's a huge wide array of symptoms. So those can really begin before you even realize that it's happening. So, at first you're like, yes, I'm in it. I'm committed. Of course, I'm here. I'm going to take care of everyone and all the things. And you have the energy to do it. You're focused and you're productive and you're on top of it. But, even things that are positive, let alone things that are negative and challenging and difficult and draining, right, can be stressful. And so we get, a little irritable, our fatigue worsens, we're frustrated more easily. Our window of capacity, what my clients like to call the window of okayness, shrinks. And we're just quicker to react, right? Versus feeling like in that window where we're like, okay, I've got this, I can handle this, it's all figure outable, and you're very regulated and calm and everything's okay. We start to go one way or the other or both, right? We can ping pong between, being lower in that apathetic, depressed, and withdrawn state, or that anxious, frustrated, irritated, and irritable type of space. So if you're struggling, at first you might just be in denial or oblivious about why you're getting sick more often. You're like, oh, I just didn't sleep well, or oh, I've been around the kids or at the hospital or whatever it is. And you don't realize that it's because you're constantly in what I like to call the emergency room versus the healing room. You're in that activated state in your nervous system where, our healing isn't happening. Our immune system isn't strong like it was. You're really getting completely exhausted and depleted. And so if you are, explaining away a headache or explaining away that lack of sleep or getting sick often, I want you to really think about this. This is not an exhaustive list at all whatsoever, but you may identify with some of the things that I'm going to bring up because you can have sleep issues like insomnia, getting less than, 6 hours of sleep a night accumulates very quickly in that sleep deficit. So it doesn't matter. I was talking to a client yesterday who was like, yeah, I just try to say it's not going to bother me if I'm not getting enough sleep. And think about even if you have like a young child and baby at home, right? That's also caregiving, and you're not getting that sleep, right? That it can accumulate really quickly, or you're stressed or anxious or worried about your family and you're losing sleep because of that. It accumulates really fast and it tanks our emotional strength and our resilience, and it shrinks that window of capacity so that we're not able to handle all the things, and that also affects our bodies. We might get tension headaches, migraines, other types of chronic pain conditions, or it can exacerbate those symptoms. We can have digestive issues, poor appetite regulation, and irritable bowel movement. So most people know they either get stressed and they don't eat or they feel like they can't eat. I have some clients that I've had in that arena where they have to figure out a way to get themselves to eat when they're really stressed, or your coping strategy may go the other way and you might emotionally overeat or eat things that aren't healthy for you. And so that regulation's just off. That frequent illness, chronic fatigue, low energy, slow recovery time. That's one of the ways that I really figured out that I was in burnout is I was not recovering the way that I optimally could have. And that was a real big red flag because I was doing all the things, but I was so stressed and burnt out over the other people that I was taking care of. And it was just not allowing my body to recover. I needed to take that time off to really take care of myself. You might have that forgetfulness, like I mentioned, with the memory, lack of focus, loss of productivity, procrastination, putting things off, irritability, loss of patience, trouble regulating your emotions, low satisfaction levels, or that depression, apathy, lack of enthusiasm. Start to lean towards the pessimism and isolation, feeling helpless or defeated. And then there's anxiety, overwhelm, self doubt, and all those unhealthy coping strategies. It could be food, it could be substances, it could be different things to try to overcompensate for all of the symptoms. We're trying to put a band aid on it and trying to cover up the symptoms when that is not going to be what's going to be the most helpful, right? We need to get to that root cause and figure out what the source of that is. So, did you know that the average person today in our modern times has more physical, mental, and emotional stress and more information just coming into our brains? Okay, just from the screens we're looking at right now and everything around us, how quickly it moves and how much information is coming at us, we put more in, more stress, more information to process in 30 days than our ancestors did in their entire lives. Can you imagine? Our brains have this amazing capacity, absolutely. And we all have the ability to change and form new connections, but that's a lot. It's a lot of stress and a whole lot of information that is going on, and we get overloaded, we get overwhelmed. And so, how I like to describe burnout is, at first, you are really excited and you are energetic and you're doing great. That's the time. If you're there, if you're like, I'm not really experiencing this, and you're watching this, awesome. Please watch the rest, put some of these strategies in place to make sure you never have to deal with this. But if you've gotten into that struggle phase where, you're getting frustrated and fatigued and your motivation and productivity and focus suffer and start having some anxiety and begin to see the effects of stress on your relationships and your health, and then you crash where that depression and mental and physical exhaustion and apathy and motivation or like lack of motivation are just really taking control, and then your body starts fighting against you, right? That decreased immune system and digestive issues. And maybe you've been in some denial about what is causing that because you think, well, I can't deal with this right now. I just have to take care of everyone and everything else. So I don't have time for this. If that's been you, now is the next best time to put those strategies in place. So let's talk about what we can do to prioritize you so that you can create harmony in all areas of your life. You can reduce that anxiety and stress and overwhelm. And you don't lose yourself in all the roles that you're playing in caregiving, that you're able to increase your sense of identity and self worth within you, not just as a caregiver, not just as all these things you've been identifying as, but just for being truly. So you can then show up as your best for everyone else. Okay, let's figure out how to do that. So, one of the ways that we're going to do that is through self love, figuring out what makes you uniquely you, right? Recognizing your strengths and really stopping the comparison game, stopping the shoulds and well, everyone else has it all together except for me. I should be able to handle all of this. Let's set that down, right? And let's talk about rewarding yourself. So, we're going to talk about, yes, absolutely. We're going to talk about self love, important. Then we're also going to talk about self care, right? Taking care of yourself is more than just going to get your nails done or your hair done or taking a bubble bath like you see on TV with all the like lovely bubbles, right? Way deeper than that and much more fundamental and foundational than that. And self care can be really taking care of yourself at those super basic levels that we're going to talk about. And it's also about getting support for yourself so that you have a care team as well and you can heal and you can show up as your best. And then we're going to talk about self compassion, about how to give yourself that grace and focus on the present moment and checking in with yourself on a regular basis so that you can give yourself what you need. Now, showing yourself love is that first step that I was talking about, that foundation of giving yourself that love so that we can have all the things, right? We can take care of everyone, we can take care of ourselves, but we have our own identity. Okay, that's really important. And one of the ways to do that is by knowing your values. One of the things that I do when I work with clients is I go through a values exercise and talk about prioritization with them and how to make really aligned choices and decisions with their values and where they're spending their time, their energy, and money, right? Do they align with the things that are most important to them? You need to know yourself in order to love yourself. And so, knowing yourself so that you can make the best decisions for you and you can learn to trust yourself, to trust your gut, to trust your intuition and tap into that inner wisdom. Right? Over time, depending on what's happening, especially with caregiving, we need to sometimes reprioritize. And I absolutely understand that. So we want to be able to have a value system, right? To really know solidly, this is my value system. And so then you can examine the people and things and activities and ideals that are the most important to you. But at the very top is your own personal well being, because without it, you cannot Be your best self, and you cannot take care of anyone or anything else unless you exist, unless you are the number one person there at the top of your priorities. And so once you put those values in orders, really look at the decisions that you've been making and how you're treating yourself and how you're treating others that are at the top of your list, and what needs to change for you to be in alignment with those values. Right? Really making decisions and basing your goals, your lifestyle, again, where you're putting that time and energy and money, all your resources. When you truly know what's important, then you can be intentional about those daily activities, and you can make sure that you weave things in so that you do have that harmony. That you can set clear intentions and a vision for the life that you're creating and who you're becoming in that process. So, really, really key to focus on loving yourself. And part of doing that also is setting really healthy boundaries, right? Building new boundaries with yourself and with others around your time, around your energy, around finances, and around focus. Building in breaks for yourself. Some of these boundaries are with you, not just with other people. And they really should all be win wins. Okay. Boundaries do not have to be the bad guy. So, building in things like little breaks and self care time, whether it's a minute or 5 minutes or 15 minutes, or whatever it is, making sure that you reduce things like multitasking and reduce the tolerations. I have my clients make something called tolerations lists. What are those things that are taking up mental real estate that don't need to be, truly? And so we talk about that and also talk about influences. What are you bringing in here? If you're bringing in more in 30 days than our ancestors did in their entire lifetimes, being very intentional about bringing things in that make you feel better about yourself, your situation, the world around you, and not giving time and energy and all of your resources to things that drain you. Yeah, how can we help you fill your cup? Everyone always talks about fill your cup, fill your cup. Well, I want you to fill your cup so much that it's overflowing, and the overflow is what you give other people. And we need to guard our energy. And part of that is figuring out how do you refill? Because everyone's going to be different on that too, on how we get energy. We need to really recharge on our own, or we can recharge doing social things. What kind of movement do we need to be? Gentle? Do we need to be bigger in our movements? Are we dancers or swimmers or runners or boxers, right? If you're talking about physical activities, what do you love? What brings you joy? That was one thing. So I told you that not healing properly was one thing that gave me a big clue. Okay, I'm in burnout. I need to do something about this. Another one is somebody asked me the question, what brings you joy? And I had to think really hard because I had to think far back because I knew the answer, but I wasn't doing any of them. And I was so caught up in, like I said, working to make the money, to pay for the treatments and the medical bills and all of these things that I wasn't doing anything that brought me joy anymore. And so I had to go back. Sometimes you have to go back to high school, to childhood, how forever far back you need to go to figure out what actually brings you joy and what helps you recharge. What are some things that you love doing? And I started reincorporating those things into my life. For me, it was dancing and swimming, but also reading, not for work, because there was an exorbitant amount of reading it required in the kind of work and the kind of schooling that I've done. But for pleasure, writing, reading, like what are the things that you love? You have to figure that out. Is it art? Is it nature? What is it for you? And I started incorporating all the things I loved. Right? So I incorporated the nature, I incorporated the movement, I incorporated the creative side, right? Incorporating all of these things is really important, and showing yourself that love of doing things that you love and that bring you joy. Now, self care is the second piece here. And taking good care of your physical body really does allow you to show up more effectively in all areas of your life. So it's important to remember that. When we're talking about self care, talking about on those really foundational, fundamental levels, as I mentioned before, that is sleep, hydration, nutrition, movement, really basic levels. We need to get that going first before we think, oh, self care is going to get a manicure. Okay, great. But if you just try to go get the manicure and you're not sleeping, there's a disconnect here, right? We can't just put a band aid over something. We need to take care of it and heal ourselves at that foundational level. Then we can build on it and add those extra things. I need to focus on sleep and feeding and fueling my body and hydrating my body and all of these really basic things. So then I can go swimming or dancing or hiking or whatever it is for that movement piece, right? And at first it might be really gentle movement because of that, because you're depleted and you're just gently building up. So maybe it's yoga or just gentle stretching or taking a walk, right? So don't try to, expend more energy than what you have. Let's build that back up and talk about also stress relief, right? Retraining your nervous system. So that's a huge thing that I do is I incorporate a lot of somatic release techniques in self-care with clients, helping them to expand that window of capacity to help bring their nervous system from that emergency room into the healing room, doing some mindfulness and breathing. And how do they sleep? Helping them first and foremost with like, okay, how can we do those basic fundamental things? And then you can build that emotional strength and resilience, and we can build upon that. So, prioritizing your mental wellness is also prioritizing your physical wellness too, right? Taking care of yourself on those physical levels are going to support your overall health and feeling of well being and your mental health as well. It's really important to start there and then build. Add the mindfulness, add the things that bring you joy, add those things that can be releases and outlets for you. So, I want you to start thinking about self care on a much deeper level, not just frilly things or things on the outside. Another piece of self care can be not doing it all yourself. That's self love and self care, really, right? So, not piling it all on yourself and thinking you have to do everything by yourself all the time. So, shifting some of those habits, shifting some of those patterns, thought patterns, and behavior patterns, and getting support and delegating, right? Getting that support for yourself so that you're not the one just trying to do it all and taking care of everyone else. Well, nobody's taking care of you. I like to think of this as like those nesting dolls, right? The Russian nesting dolls, where you have a bigger one, a bigger container holding the smaller one, holding an even smaller one, holding an even smaller one. It's like you're holding the container for so many people and things. Who's holding a container for you? And that's where the work that I do comes in of helping to hold that space and hold that container for people who give everything to everyone else because you need and deserve support too, right? You need and deserve to nurture all aspects your mind, your body, your spirit to break that cycle of burnout in your life. I've designed my work and my life around taking care of myself holistically and teaching my clients to do the same. And so when you're in your own journey throughout life, reaching out for support isn't a weakness, it's truly a strength, and it can help you to gain the clarity and the confidence and the tools and resources to take action to create that life that is in harmony, where you can take care of yourself so you can take care of everyone and everything else at your best. That's so, so important to understand. And then the third piece is self compassion, really practicing that self compassion and reframing how we speak to ourselves. This is part of, these all go together, of self love and self care, is how do you treat yourself? How do you speak to yourself? We tend to be so harsh on ourselves, harder than we are on anyone else, even if we've been irritable and snappy at others. Oh my goodness, what are we doing to us? And so, really looking at that of how are you thinking about yourself and the situation that you're in and the roles that you play and those responsibilities. Often we take a lot of outside pressures and expectations and create a pressure cooker with them from within, right? We turn them on ourselves and internalize that. And so, really practicing self compassion and being kind to yourself and starting to look at the road to health as a lifelong journey and that each of us has an individual path. So, reducing that comparison and those shoulds and those have tos and all that pressure and expectation, starting to release that and focus on the progress that you're making on that path rather than holding yourself to this impossible, unattainable standard. And really figuring out, how can I show myself more compassion? There's a compassion exercise that I do with my clients, and we really look at what are they saying to themselves, and I have them practice and look at, like, okay, write that down. What are you saying to yourself? Now say it out loud. Sometimes just saying it out loud is enough to be like, wow, I can't believe I said that. I can't believe I treat myself like that. But then you can take it a step further and imagine, would you say that to someone else? And typically the answer is no. Or unfortunately, if you're really burnt out, sometimes the answer is yes, I've been treating others poorly too because I'm just so stretched past my limits. But if you heard someone else say those things about themselves, what kinds of compassionate words would you say in response? And then start saying them to yourself. When you hear yourself beating yourself up, being so hard on yourself, turn that back around. Give yourself the compassion that you give to others, the care that you give to others. Now, when you do have that harmony between all the areas of your life, you will absolutely be able to find joy and fulfillment even in the challenging times. You will be able to find gratitude in the challenging times. You'll be able to be fully present with the people and things that you care about the most. And that changes everything. When we're caregiving, we can get so caught up in the negative and in the challenges and in the trying to fight all of the time that we're not fully present to be with each other in the moment. And so remember to be grateful and mindful and joyful in this journey. That's so, so key. You can find things every single day that you're looking forward to, or things that went well, things that you're grateful for, and why. When people do gratitude, I don't want it to just be like a to do list that you just check off. I'm grateful for this, I'm grateful for that. Why? I'm grateful for my house because it's cold outside and it keeps me warm and safe and secure and cozy. And it makes me feel like I'm going to be okay. What is that? What is that for you? I want you to really dig deep. If it's a person, why are you grateful for them today? What is it about them today? Because you can be grateful for the same things every day and find different layers of why and how you're most grateful for them. And things that you are looking forward to, have something to look forward to. If you cannot think of anything to look forward to, need to shift some things, right? Find some of those things that bring you joy. Find something that you can be working towards. And it can be simple, small things, and it can be big things. It really is up to you. You could be looking forward to your time that you're going to set aside for yourself to take care of yourself and sit and breathe. And we're taking that shower, that bath at the end of the day, or anything, anything that you can look forward to. Create things to look forward to and figure out what went well, not just what didn't. We're so focused a lot of times on what went wrong, what didn't go right, what did go well today. And be really mindful. Take the time to be still and present and aware of your mental and physical well being every day. I like to teach an exercise that's just a mindful somatic check in where you take 3 mindful breaths. And that's just bringing all that good air, that oxygen moving in, nice and refreshing, gathering up any tension, any tightness, any stress, any anxiety, and releasing it as you exhale. And just do that 3 times. And then ask yourself, how am I feeling in this moment? What are those emotions? And it's in this moment. We tend to bring emotions in as our identity. Like, I am sad, I am angry, I am happy, things like that. It's in this moment. We're meant to feel emotions like a wave and allow them to pass, right? Just like the really happy, joyful emotions. If you laugh so hard at a joke, you're not laughing for 3 months or 3 weeks or 3 days or 3 hours or typically even 3 whole minutes, right? It's more like 30 seconds or a minute or whatever it is at the most. But think about that. Let them pass. In this moment, I feel this. In this moment, I notice and I'm experiencing this. So name the sensations. Where is that living in your body? It's another thing that I do deeply with clients is pinpoint where do they hold their stress and how to release that from their body, from their nervous system. Because it's not just up here in our thoughts. Emotions are physiological responses that we put words to. So, what are you feeling in this moment? Emotionally, right? Mentally and physically. What are you noticing? What are you experiencing in your body? Take 3 more of those mindful breaths. All that good oxygen moving in. You can inhale calm and peace and harmony, whatever you need in that moment. And then exhale whatever is needing to be released in your body and your mind. So release anxiety, release stress, release tension. And then pinpoint, is there anything that you notice that you need in this moment? You may have noticed you're hungry or thirsty or tired. Do you need to take a little break? Do you need to get up and stretch? Do you need some fresh air? Do you need to go eat a meal? Do you need to drink some water? What is it? And give that to yourself. And then remember joy. So I talked about this earlier, pinpointing, making a list of all the things, big and small, that bring you joy. Start incorporating it into your days or your weeks, right? What are some little tiny things that you can just incorporate into your day? Maybe it's your favorite cup of tea and you're mindful when you drink it about how good it smells and tastes and feels and the warmth under your hands of your cup. Maybe it's little treats like that, little things that can just bring you that joy or your favorite song. It could be small things, a scent, a sound, a taste, a smell, whatever that is. But then what are some of those bigger things, those activities that bring you joy, those things you can look forward to? Incorporate those into your life and into your days. And when you do that, I know that you're going to be on the road to recovery and on your way to getting rid of burnout once and for all, and really being able to take care of yourself first and foremost. So, I have an invitation for you all now. And the invitation, as we're closing things down here, the invitation is to explore your options for support. This is the QR code, the link to book a call with me to explore those options. You can also find that right on my website at psychedupsuccess.com, where you can book a free 30-minute consultation with me, and we can talk about what you're experiencing, the things that you're dealing with, and how to incorporate some of these strategies into your life and do some of that deeper work together. So I can explain to you exactly what that would look like and how we'd be able to do that and help you to recover from and prevent burnout in the future. You can also connect with me on social media. So I have a beautiful community called Purpose Passion Path on Facebook that I would love for you to join me in. And I share a ton of wisdom and knowledge and other practitioners and people. Some often will join me. Again, I believe in having a whole care team. My AHS practitioners here are amazing, and also have some of them, as well as some really wonderful people to help support each other in the Purpose Passion Path community. So you're welcome to join me there. Follow me on Facebook or Instagram, YouTube, all the places at Psyched Up Success. And again, you can reach out to me directly on my website as well. So I'm going to go ahead and stop my share here and just let you all know that I'm here for you to reach out to anytime. So if there's anything that I can do, any help that I can give you, I would be happy to do that. And Jamie, I love your feedback on what brings you joy. So learning how to watercolor, restorative yoga. Yeah, those really gentle things, especially when you're super burnt out, I feel like are key in helping you to be able to kind of expand that window, right? Sometimes we're in those higher areas where we need to have like the bigger movement, and sometimes we're in the lower areas where we need to just gently incorporate those things that bring us joy, that help us move our bodies, to help us to recover from that. So thank you so much for being here. And Judy, caregiver burner, is truly a medical burden, excuse me, is truly a medical diagnosis. That's so true. Because of the tremendous effects on our health, it's become more and more recognized, which I'm so grateful for, because I think this is something that people didn't recognize. I mean, burnout wasn't even really a term until the 1980s. And even then, they were talking about corporate. It was all only about corporate. And again, we're not just our careers, and not all of us are in corporate. And caregiving was something that was just taken for granted in the past. It's so, so key to make sure that we are recognizing this. And so if we're incorporating all of these things into our lives, we can avoid that diagnosis, right? We can avoid putting ourselves into the hospital, running ourselves into the ground. And it doesn't have to be that way, right? We don't have to do that in order to take care of others. So thank you so much for being here with me live. I appreciate you. And everyone watching on the replay as well, would love to connect with you. So again, you can visit my website. So you can go to psychedupsuccess.com, or you can click that QR code and come and be with me to really figure out what's going to be the best solution for you. It's important that it's customized to you and your individual situation in your life. And so I'd be happy to help guide you in doing that. And then if you'd like to work with me further, we can talk about that as well. So thank you so much again, everyone. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. And just remember to take care of yourselves first and foremost before everyone and everything else, so you can show up as your best in all areas. All right, take care. Bye for now. I will be seeing you in the community.